What up, guys? My name is Coach Dez. Here with me today, I have Korri and Yo, and
What
we're going to be
up?
talking about Korri's fitness journey. So, we met back in like 2020, and it was like one of the best days of my life. But after that, I hadn't seen you for a little bit, and then you reached out and wanted to do online coaching. And you kind of told me like a little bit of like what went on. So what was like your main, because we all hit like a point to where we're like, okay, like I need help, like I can't do this on my own. So what do you feel like was your I guess like your point to where you're like,
My
okay,
turning
like
point.
yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like my turning point was when I just kind of took a step back and looked at my life. I mean, I felt like I was doing all the right things, eating all the right things, but I just wasn't getting the results that I wanted. But it was more of, and I guess when we go down my journey, I realized it was more of an emotional thing that I was looking for, not so much the physicality of everything. So, and I wanted to reach out to you because I know that you've helped tons of men and women, you know, transform their lives. And obviously I know you on a deeper level, and I knew that you would help me, give that emotional balance and that physical balance. So, yeah, that was basically like my turning point was just taking a look at what I wasn't doing and I needed help. And I feel like most of my life I've tried to do everything by myself, but I realize now, you know, as I get older, we need people. People need people. So, yeah. That was
We all need coaches.
We all need coaches.
Yeah. and that's a good story too, because we all have our turning points as well. It's just because we are coaches doesn't mean that we don't have one. And we all had one. Like I had my own story and she has her own story. And that's why Unfinished Lifestyle is so beautiful when it comes to our coaching staff, because we all have our own stories and we resonate with a lot of our clients. And this is why we wanted to do this podcast, because it's for you. It's not for us. It's for you. We want you to share your experience. And that's why you're here.
Awesome.
I love that.
Thanks.
Thank
you.
That.
Well, and I think by like you, because I think a lot of people can relate to like the emotional side of food.
Yeah.
And just seeing yourself through that. And so I think a lot of people can relate to that and just be inspired by you as well, which I think is so cool because I've always looked up to you. So when you reached out, I was like, oh okay, yes.
Well,
let's do this.
You know, it's one of those things where it's not like a spoken thing that I come out and like on Instagram, I'm like, hey, this is what's going on with me. But I've always struggled with food. And this year, especially with like, I have an eating disorder. And so I wanted to make sure that when I was working with you, I was also working with a mental health therapist. And the turning point, I feel like when I was obviously working with you and her, because there was times where I was uncomfortable because I was eating more, and I'll get to that in a moment. But she said, what would you gain if you went back to where you were? What would you lose if you went back to where you were? And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, there are a lot of things that have changed about me now. Like, when I leave the house, I was thinking about this when I was leaving the house. I'm thinking like I need to eat before I leave. Whereas before I'm like, I probably shouldn't eat until like 6:00 at night. You know, like there's been
that was the thought process.
Yeah, like my thought process has completely changed. Like I eat all my meals throughout the day. And at the beginning with Desi, it was kind of difficult because I told her like I didn't mind gaining weight, and I have celiac, and I got diagnosed with that last year. So I had to completely change just how I view my diet altogether.
How does that affect you personally?
It's a little bit difficult. It's a struggle sometimes. Working with Desi has made it a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
But obviously, like the social aspect of eating out has kind of diminished significantly because I can't expose myself to.
Yeah, like she is so sensitive.
Yeah.
I feel like every time you've eaten out, there's been some sort of like
a gluten attack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you let people know who don't know what celiac is more specifically?
Yeah. Celiac disease is basically an inflammation of your intestinal lining. And so what happens is you have like these villi in your intestines, and when you have celiac disease, they go down, which means your body's not absorbing any nutrients. And so you can become really malnourished. And so, case in point with an eating disorder, I didn't realize that I had celiac disease, and I was a lot smaller. I was really, really small because my body was malnourished. Last year, there was a bunch of stuff that had happened, and I went and got labs and things, and then they told me I had celiac disease. And so it was a total mind switch for me because once I started eating things without gluten, I started gaining weight. And I kept trying to tell myself, it's a good thing because if I'm not gaining weight, that means my body's not absorbing these nutrients. But it was still really, really hard because, you know, as a female, you know, you're like, but this is a whole new body that I have to work with. So this year, like I said, when my turning point with Desi was I'm eating all the right things. I'm doing all the things that I want, like I should be doing, but there's something that's missing. And so I did reach out to her and I talked to her about, because I used to do figure modeling, but I did it in a completely not the great way.
The unhealthy way.
The unhealthy way.
The one salad bowl a day.
Yes. Yeah. Tons of cardio, lots of lifting. And so I told her I don't want to starve myself. And she delivered. And at the beginning, I was eating a lot more and I gained more weight. But then I realized, actually had the thought the other day, why was I so uncomfortable taking care of myself? Why was it so uncomfortable for me to feed my body and like actually nourish myself? Like gaining weight isn't always a bad thing. And I think in my brain I kept associating with that gaining weight is a bad thing, but it's not, especially for someone who lives with celiac disease. So working with Desi and, you know, we're doing our calories and things like that. Like I said, at the beginning it was difficult, but now I feel like I'm more in a groove and I feel more connected to myself than I ever have. And now, because before I used to eat, like candy is like my thing that I go to. And now it's like, I don't even think about eating candy. It's like, I want to eat something that's like nourishing. I love yogurt. Who knew?
I know this bitch. She's like, can we do yogurt again? I'm like, yeah.
You have like 2 yogurts a day.
I'm like, if you want.
It's been like my consistent breakfast for 3 months. So like,
So how many meals did you eat before you started a day?
I'd say I'd probably eat like maybe 2 or 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think before you started, you were lifting a lot heavier, right?
I was. Yes, I was.
Lifting a lot and
Yes.
then just not eating
Yes.
anything.
Backwards.
Yeah, so we had
Very
to change that.
Let's deep dive into that real quick. So a lot of people are listening to this right now, and you see this time and time. Colton knows when you go to the gym and you see the same person for the entire year, and you've changed physically, mentally, and then you see the same person the year after year. They look exactly the same, and then they have the same exact conversation. I'm like, yeah, my diet's okay. Yeah. And I'm like, well, how was your progress? I lost 10 pounds for 2 years.
Wow.
That's not a lot of progress, right? Unless really body recomposition. But a lot of people make that mistakes. They overly, wow, the word. They go to the gym so much and then they do cardio and then they say, oh, I want to be toned. Yeah. I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. As a coach, I'm like,
I don't even think they know what it means.
Exactly. So I'm like, what do you mean tone? I'm like, well, I don't like to go to the gym, but I want to do all the cardios and stuff. I'm like, you're not going to look toned like that.
Yeah. Right.
I know that, right? So I think the biggest mistakes a lot of people make is they think the first step is go to the gym. Actually, yeah, move your body, great. Yeah. But 90% of the stuff that we need to do is nutrition.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of the times, like growing up, we're taught how to diet. We're not taught how to eat and nourish ourselves.
Correct.
Right.
And so then we have like this whole diet mentality stuck in our head. It's like in grind. That's all you see anymore. Yeah. And it's not showing us, oh my gosh, you can have over 2,000 calories and look fit and amazing, you know?
Yeah. How much calories did you think you eat before you met Coach D?
So my highest calorie intake that I was at I thought was a lot, was 1,850, but I was eating somewhere around 12. Wow. Maybe 12.
Because you wanting to look certain way.
I just wanted to lose weight because like I said, I have the celiac and I was eating a whole different diet. And so I was just like, I just want to lose. But I actually talked to Dez and I was like in tears thanking her for giving me permission to be able to eat more. I know it sounds really silly because you don't think about like that you need permission to eat more, but just like somebody opening that door to say, hey,
it's okay.
Here's 2,400 calories that you can eat, and that's okay. This is not going to hurt you. This is for the benefit of your body, especially as a woman, for your hormonal balance. And that was the biggest thing that we have been working on, is gut balance, but hormonal balance. I felt like a complete shift, and just like how like I'm not as tired as I used to be. I'm able to, like, my metabolism's like on fire now.
You're hungry every 2 hours?
I'm hungry.
Have you text coach and be like, yo, listen.
Dude, I told that same story. I was like, I remember texting him like, this is too much food, dude. It's too much. Like, it's all the way up to my esophagus. And then I think like literally 2 weeks later, I was like, I'm so hungry, I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's exactly how I feel. We're doing carb cycling right now, and I'm like, Des.
Oh, on your low days?
Yo.
I'm
The
like,
low
I'm
days.
so hungry.
But on your low day, you're probably eating what? More than you used to eat before.
I'm eating more than I used to.
On a low day.
Yeah, and you know, it's crazy because, like I said, I'm a fairly healthy person and I look at everything, but I feel like there was a lot of things that had happened over the past 2 years. My friend had passed, and that was really hard for me because I felt like I watched my friend deteriorate. And he has little girls, and I was just thinking, like, I was trying to put myself in that perspective, and I talk to Des about it all the time. You know, I feel like my priorities shifted quite a bit, and I went into isolation mode pretty bad because I just wanted to preserve my life with my daughter and not waste any more time. Yeah. But then in doing so, I was just not exposing myself anymore to, like, having a life, you know, and being outgoing because that's who I naturally am. And then that just made me more depressed. And then everything became about just my daughter, which if you're a single mom and a parent, like, it makes sense, but it was too much. And I knew that. And Desi knows that. And so, like, of course, like, my natural, I guess my natural pull to her was because I know that she's been my friend for a really long time and I know she cares. But I also knew that she was going to kind of give it to me straight and be like, sis, like, you need to do this. You know, like, she would give me that push, but like in a gentle way that I needed. And so I feel like there were so many reasons that led me to Desi. I mean, and she told me to go outside and take bird poop out from outside and put it in, like, my yogurt, I'd do it. You know, like, if she's like, this is going to get you the results.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Is this a real thing?
Yeah.
What kind of recipe is this?
I'm going to be honest. If you told me to do that, I would go find a new coach.
Yeah. You would tell me to fuck off.
Yeah, I go find a new coach.
I would douse myself in it.
I love that.
A mayonnaise dip, you know, like.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's difficult, and I feel like people obviously gain weight for different reasons, health reasons, if they're really depressed. And I was really depressed. And I separated myself from a lot of things. And so reaching out to Desi was, like I said, a natural thing because I knew that she would not only help me physically, like I said at the very beginning of this podcast, but emotionally, I didn't realize how much I needed you. Because you changed my life. You really did. Like, I know I like working with a mental health therapist and things, but like, I have it on my dream board, and I've had it on my dream board for the past 4 years, that I wish that I could just have a normal relationship with my body and a normal relationship with my food. And I finally got it, you know? So.
And you're here.
And I'm here. And like I said, like, my natural thinking now is I need to eat. Whereas before I probably need to, like, intermittent fast, which intermittent fasting has its own place in people's lives. But it's like, it's not like I don't need to starve myself anymore. And I don't want to starve myself anymore. I don't want to go back to all that. I like lifting. Like, I love going to the gym and having that be my safe space. You know, I like I not only lift weight, but I do bar, and I like doing, like, being able to stretch my body and move. And as a single mom, like, sometimes I don't get all the time that I want to myself, but I'm still eating, which is like a huge difference, because with my daughter, like, I'm so focused on taking care of her that I forget about myself, and in turn I forget to feed myself. But I, like, even if days where I'm not able to work out, I'm still eating because I'm hungry. So
yeah, you're out of that, like, scarcity mindset with food.
Yes. Yeah, it's I got goosebumps. I'm out of the scarcity with food. Yeah, you're
so
on my
how
Drew
many
board.
how many calories are you eating right now? I mean, on your highest calories before we started cutting.
I think
it's like 2100.
Yeah.
21, 22?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that came from you not eating.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
1 or twice a day.
Yeah.
Or 3 times if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And back to because I have a lot of moms on our program, actually.
Yeah.
And the number one thing that I always talk to them about is we tend to take care of others, especially when you're a mom. The last person you take care of is yourself.
Right.
And back to what I was talking about earlier, when my cup is empty. When your cup is empty, you cannot give anything to your daughter, to your significant other, whatever. You can't give. So if you don't feed your body, if you don't fill that cup up, it's hard for you to move mountains.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let alone you doing this shit by yourself.
Yeah.
And you're doing this by yourself.
Yeah.
And you did it.
Yeah.
And you're here.
I'm not by myself.
Right. But I mean, she's not there with her every day.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Guide. I was just your little guide.
We're literally your GPS.
Yes,
She's your
yes,
GPS.
Yeah.
Right?
She's my guide. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And you're the driver.
Yeah.
I think, like, one of the coolest things that I've watched with Korri is now, like, she's so connected with her body that I'll ask her, because I think it was this last week where I can't remember if we were adding a little bit more food on your low day, and I was like, does this feel good to you, or do you want to keep it a little bit lower? And she was like, no, that feels good. And I was like, that was a test and you just passed, Mom.
Yes.
I didn't even know it was a test. I'm like, give me all the food.
But I just feel like we're in a world where we're so used to having, like, doctors, or mostly doctors, just people telling us what to do with our bodies, and telling us, like, the pills we should be taking, what's wrong with our bodies, and we're not connected internally and using our own intuition to connect to ourselves and know what our body needs, because our body is always telling us what it needs. Sometimes we just refuse to listen. We know what it's saying, but then we're like, oh, well, I need a second opinion. And that second opinion sometimes will steer you the wrong way. And so I love that, like, Korri is now in tune and connected with her body to where she knows, like, what feels good and what doesn't, and what she can eat. Like, she took, like, a couple weeks off from having, like, red meat in her plan, or just, like, meat in general, because she was like, my body just needs a break. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then now she's back to eating meat again. And so I feel like
all white meat, red meat, fish,
so,
like what is it?
I was vegan for like 10 years, and then I was starting to eat more like fish and eggs, but I wasn't eating like chicken or steak or anything like that. This year I've incorporating it more into my diet, but then I realized with my body, when you have celiac, you become really familiar with your food and like what causes inflammation. So now for me, I've realized that turkey, steak, and salmon causes inflammation for me.
For you?
Yes. And so I will eat just like white chicken, eggs. Sometimes I'll eat tofu. I'll still integrate some vegan alternative meats just because I'm so familiar with it, and it's just easier to make sometimes. But those are the things that kind of causes that inflammation that I have to be very leery of. So if I'm going to incorporate it, it has to be kind of smaller amounts. And again, I don't want to do small amounts. Like, I want to eat. So
our body needs fuel.
Yeah.
What about carbs? I mean,
yeah.
besides gluten, obviously.
So we eat rice. There's so many cool things now when you have celiac. It's expensive though, but there's still gluten-free bread.
Yep.
There's tortillas. I love sweet potatoes. I love
There's gluten-free pasta too.
Gluten-free pasta, yeah.
They literally make
gluten-free flour.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking like a rose. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
they have gluten-free everything.
Tons. I mean, and obviously my diet is more whole foods. Yeah. I hardly eat any processed foods. The only processed foods I think I really eat is the granola I put in my yogurt and the yogurt.
The yogurt itself.
Did you ever have that moment where, like, when I first got on the meal plan and I stuck to it for probably 6 months, didn't have anything outside of the meal plan, and then there was one day everything kind of fell apart, right? Didn't have any food, went to work, and I was like, I need to eat something. Yeah. So I went across the street and I got Chick-fil-A, and I was wrecked. Like, and it had never done that. Like, I remember eating it and being like, oh, that's not sitting too well. And I remember being like,
yeah, you become like hypersensitive.
That terrible in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's really funny that you bring that up because I actually had that happen the other day and I didn't tell you, Desi. Sorry.
This is real, guys. This is real.
What's that like? This is like an episode of Maury. You know?
This is real check-in right here.
The table. But it wasn't Chick-fil-A. I was craving a Sprite. And I'm like, I want a Sprite. And so me and my daughter went to the gas station and I got a Sprite. And
just a regular Sprite?
Just a normal Sprite.
Not Sprite Zero?
No,
okay.
No. No. Just the real sugar.
She needed a strong drink.
It's one of those days.
Something to take the edge off.
I thought she says like beer or like, you know.
I know, I'm like, she was at the liquor store. Wendy's or Taco Bell.
This is so funny.
We've had several clients too that come to Johan and they're like literally in tears and they're crying and they're like, I had 6 ounces of chicken instead of 5. And I'm like, devastated. And he's like, legit, yeah, dude. And
this is real
relax,
stuff,
dude.
But it's cool. Anyway, finish your Sprite story.
My Sprite story. So I drank half of it, and I was like chilling in my house, and all of a sudden, like, man, I felt so nauseous, and I was just sitting there. And my daughter's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, no, I don't think so. And so I sat down on the floor and put the fan directly on my face because I was not the Sprite just wasn't sitting with me. And so like after that I was like, damn.
I'm sorry, Desi.
Not gonna do it anymore.
Dang it.
Nope. Not worth it.
It's not worth it.
I really thought you were gonna say something else.
No, this is just a Sprite.
That's what you always think. Like I thought she was gonna be like, I got a deluxe chili cheese fry.
Oh my god, a Maverick.
Guys, this is so terrible.
Sushi.
I sinned.
A half a Sprite.
Yeah.
Not even a full.
Yeah, can you guys listen to that? Half a Sprite. Come on, y'all.
Well, and I never drink like soda or pop or anything like that. And so like, man, when those Sprites hit you the first time, it's like you're sent to a different vortex. You're like, you know, it
all
takes
the bubbles
a minute.
And the caffeine. Hey, Des, can you talk about what it's like taking on a client that maybe has difficulty with food and things like that? Like, is that, I mean, a stressful process for you, just knowing not only like you've got your own things in your own life to handle, you can't just send this person a meal plan and say, there you go.
Right.
Like you also have to take on a little bit, not everything, but a little bit of your client's stuff. Can you talk about what that's like?
Yeah, no, for me, I feel like that's my shit, honestly, because when I first started into like my health and fitness journey, I, at the age of 21 or 22, developed an eating disorder. And then everything that also comes with it, like the emotional shit. And from my eating disorder, that's where I developed a gluten intolerance. I'm not celiac, but definitely a gluten intolerance because my relationship with food was so bad. And I tried to use that as like my emotional cover up. And so coming from that, like I struggled with that till I was 27, 28. So just years of having like binge eating or just starving myself, diet pills, things like that. And so I know exactly like what women are going through when they come to me with that. And like, I know like I need to meet them where they're at, because you can't just take someone and when they're eating like 12 to 1,300 calories and be like, hey, you need to be eating 1,800 to 2,500 calories a day. And it's just like a slow process, and you really have to just be able to sit with them and know how to hold space for them as well, because all of it is just emotional, you know? And so I honestly, like, I love working with people who have had or do have an eating disorder, because I feel like I'm one of the only many whatever people that can truly understand like where they're coming from and where they're at and what they've been through and things like that. Because back then, like, I wish that I had support. I wish I had someone, you know, to help guide me and get me out of that. And it took me years to finally be able to, I had to work through it myself, and it would have been a hell of a lot easier if I had someone to help me. But at the same time, I was in a spot where I was like, oh, I'm a personal trainer, I don't need help. And I was like, I can't let anyone know that I'm like going through all of this, and this is how my relationship is with food, and this is how my relationship is with my body. When now I'm like, shit, I should have just been like, I could have helped so many people back then, including myself, if I was just open and honest about it. And so
that's what makes you a better coach, though.
Yes.
That's what makes us a good coach, because we've been, you know, in my honest opinion, when you see someone coaching and then they've never been big, they've never gone through eating disorder, they've never gone through all that stuff, and they just want to get their certifications. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm a coach now, because anybody can do that. Yeah. You can do that. Colton can do that. But it's about your passion, and are you doing it for the right reasons? And when I called her one time and wanting to be a part of our team, and she said to me, oh, my gosh, like I was going through some shit. And then I feel like the phone call was what she needed and what I needed too at the same time. So, and I'm glad that you guys found each other, and you know, this has been amazing.
Yeah. It's been great. It's been wonderful. And she's been incredibly gentle, and like, but she'll be like, hey sis, like, you need to get together. I'm like, okay. So how much rice? You know, you know. So, but it's been amazing. It's an amazing journey that this has been, and I am excited to continue on with Desi and see how much more growth is going to happen, and just like how much more food I'm going to eat.
I had a community call this morning with my online clients, and almost every single one of them are actually been with the program for almost a year. Wow. Right? And that's when you're really starting to really change, because now you have the habits, you have the routine, and then we talked about motivation. Yeah. The funny thing about motivation is it doesn't last. We know that. My motivation left a long time ago. Like, I really don't care that much for the gym, but it's because of my routine and my goals kept me going. You know what I mean? And I think what a lot of people always talk about, I'm like, I don't have motivation, coach. I'm like, it's not about motivation anymore. Let me ask you this, right? We all wake up this morning, we brush our teeth. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have to be motivated for that? No. Are you going to jump up and down in the bathroom and be like, okay, I'm gonna brush my teeth today? No, you don't. But you just do it every day. Right. Same thing with, you know, getting dressed. Ladies put on makeup and do your hair. Same thing every day. So eating the right way and go to the gym and move your body. It doesn't have to be gym. All right. I think the misconception, I think for a lot of us coaches, is that when a client signs up, I'm like, do I have to go to the gym? You don't. Yeah. You can, if you like hiking, you want to go swimming.
Yeah, I'm like, as long as you move your body.
Yeah. It doesn't, if you want to ride horses, like you move. You just got to move. Yeah. And people were shocked. I'm like, wait, I don't have to go to the gym. I'm like, you don't. Yeah. But you can't tell me you want to gain muscle and not lift weights. Right.
That's what I was going to say. It depends on your goals. Because if I told him what my goals were, and then I was like, but I just want to go hiking, he'd be like,
all right, bro.
Be like, get fucked.
You can still be healthy. Yeah.
Well, and I think like too with weight loss, everyone is so focused on the loss of it. And you have to focus on like everything that you're gaining, not only like, I think what helps women is like focus on getting stronger at the gym, you know, focus on the habits and the belief system that you're gaining and the more food that you get to eat, you know. I think we get so focused on the loss that then we get put in scarcity mode and it changes our whole mindset. And
every muscle you gain. So let's say you go to the gym for the entire year and then let's say you eat like shit. But every year you go to the gym, you probably gain minimum 4 to 5 pounds, 3 to 5 pounds of muscle minimum.
Right.
So, but I bet you that person eat the exact same thing in January versus in December.
Yeah.
So you're not going to gain anything or lose anything, because the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn,
Right.
which means the more calories that you have to intake.
Right.
A lot of people think opposite. They're like, I want to lose. And then what do? They eat less and less and less. They do more cardio and do all this crazy shit.
Breaks down their muscles.
Yeah. And then you just lost everything. And then sure, you lost 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. You're 125 pounds now. And then, but you're eating 1,200 a day.
Right.
You're stuck at 1,200.
Yeah.
So I think the misconception this morning, Jordan was talking about this, and she was like, someone literally came to one of my athletes. She looks amazing, like incredible. And then that girl said, you're too muscular. And she's like, no, I worked my ass off. And so she had a really good response to that, which I was really proud of her. Because, and then I had to come back and said, hey, it's not you. It's their own insecurity.
Right.
Exactly.
I promise you it's not you.
Talk about discipline, dude. Jordan.
Yeah. She's next
You look
level.
up discipline in the dictionary. It's just a picture of it.
She's probably listening to this right now. She's smiling right now. Yeah. She listens to all of our podcasts. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, motivation and discipline are completely different. It's the discipline that you have every single day to be like, well, do I want to go to the gym? Am I going to fall asleep? Like, do I want to go on a walk? Do I want to just stay home and just like veg out on the couch? Like, it's all about the discipline, getting yourself to that point. There are times, I know, that I'm so tired that I don't want to move my body, but I'm like, honey, we're going to go for a walk. Me and my daughter, I'm like, we're going to go. We need to go now.
Yeah.
And it's cute because we'll be on a walk and she just like, this is so boring. I'm like, you'll thank me when you're older, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm teaching you the facts of life.
I love that what you're doing right now is you're also being that role model for your daughter Lyra, and I think is so beautiful because I wish like I would have had that, and I'm sure you wish that too.
Yeah.
And so it's just like setting her up for her, teenage adult years, so she doesn't have to go through the shit that we went through.
Yeah.
So how does that affect with your so you fixed your relationship with food now,
Yeah.
which is awesome. So how does that affect your relationship with your daughter with food as well? So what are you teaching her?
It's so her relationship with food and my relationship with food is like night and day. Like when I was growing up, my mom did the Trim Spa. I don't know if you know who Anna Nicole was, but she created Trim Spa. And my mom got surgery to lose weight, and it was, oh man, it would make me so upset because she would eat the same exact way, and she would just like eat all the time, and just really junky food. And we didn't grow up the riches of riches. We were fairly poor. So like my relationship with food from the very get-go with my mom was very, very rocky. There would be, me and my sister would have contests to see how long we could go without eating.
What?
When we were like real little. Yeah. But there's a lot of other things associated with why we were doing that, trauma things, abuse, things of that nature. So with my daughter, I didn't want that to have that relationship with her food. There's no good or bad food. There's just food. You don't have to finish your plate. You don't have to take one more bite. If you don't want to try something, you don't have to try it. Her relationship, like I said, is complete. It's night and day from my relationship with food. Well, no, mine's better, but I've always been a big proprietor of being able to have her own autonomy and her own thoughts about what food is to her. At the very beginning, it was a little bit difficult because I was trying to raise her vegan. And then her dad and I separated, and he started incorporating meat, and we didn't have a discussion about it. But now, now we have been in a great space. But with her and eating, she's so mindful of things that are going in her body. Yeah. I'll offer her, sometimes we'll go, to a gluten bakery, and I'm like, do you want this? And she's like, yeah, she'll get a little cupcake, and she'll eat 3 bites, and she's like, I just don't want any more. I know it's gonna hurt my belly if I eat more. She's so in tune with her body that she's my role model when it comes to I want to be her. And she's so body positive. She just likes her little belly and her arms. And there was something that my therapist did tell me. She goes, what if Lyra grows up and she has the same things that are happening to you? What would you say to her? What would you tell her?
That's a great question.
I told her I would love her through it. And she goes, then why are you not loving yourself through it? And I was like,
ooh,
fuck. You're right.
That's beautiful.
And so beautiful. Every time that I'm in the mirror and I'm thinking about poking and prodding myself, I think, would I ever do that to Lyra? No. Would I ever want her to do that to herself? No. Mm-hmm. So why am I doing it to myself? Yeah. Even though this is a great pillow, by the way, this is the anxiety pillow.
That's why we have it.
Even though, like I said, I gained weight after my celiac diagnosis, I know that I'm heading in the right direction. And I know it's human nature. Everybody wants to change things about themselves. But I know that it's not as dire as it was before, because there have been nominal changes in my life, my relationship with my body, my relationship with my food, my overall relationship with my kid, just being more mindful of how I'm presenting myself in front of her, because I don't want her to have a complex about food. And if she does, now I know a better way to help her through it, rather than just being that sucks for you.
Right, here's some pills.
Take some pills, Yeah,
thank you for sharing that, because, obviously you met my little one today. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know any better. He doesn't know, what a normal bacon tastes like. He doesn't know what a normal pancake tastes like. It's not that we don't have them.
Right.
When we go out, we went to every Sunday now. I think it's a thing. Every Sunday we go to Original Pancake House.
Oh yeah.
We order pancakes. We order normal foods every Sunday, and that's a family thing that we do. And the biggest thing that I want to talk about too is there's no such thing as bad food. And I love that you said that, because I'm always preaching that, because that's how we coach. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as bad food, or you never hear me or Dez say, hey, you can never have this ever again. Right. No, hell no. I drink alcohol. I eat burgers and fries, donuts, all that stuff. It's I do. Luckily, I don't have any intolerance at all, which is great. And the biggest thing that I always talk to parents about, you have to understand, is the biggest thing that you do is when you restrict food from your kids. Mm-hmm. And then what's a normal conversation? Don't eat that. That's going to make you fat.
Yeah.
Dude, she's 7.
Yeah.
How is that going to affect
Sometimes
that person?
The opposite as well. In my family, we just were able to eat whatever we want.
Exactly.
So then I have problems even now, dude. Even last night, I opened the pantry and I stood at I stood there and I stared at the box of cookies. Yeah. And I just looked and was it was a crazy craving. I was I want one so bad. And instead of being oh, I can't have one, it was just no, I'm committed to something else right now. So you got to reframe some things. But I don't think people understand how, I guess, detrimental it can be being too strict and not strict enough.
Right.
And it's not necessarily you want to parent on the strictness level. It's more of a teaching your children how to make choices.
Make better choices.
In anything. It has nothing to do with food. It's just choices. Yeah. How can you make choices?
Yeah. And it's a different lifestyle too, because I grew up in Malaysia. And so we don't have a lot of options. And so whatever we have in our pantries, whatever we eat, it's what we have. Right. When I moved here, I had so many options.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And so when I was back home, and I didn't have a lot of options. So that's why a lot of third world countries, for example, and a lot of them they're not overweight. It's not because they chose to not to be overweight. It's just they don't have an option to have a full. We don't even have a pantry.
Right.
When I moved to the U.S., you guys have a room. What is that room? I'm oh, it's a pantry. I'm what the fuck? It's a pantry. Oh, that's where you store your food. I'm you have storage for your food? I'm serious. I'm what?
Yeah.
But we don't have that back home. So every day, my grandma would go shopping every day. And then she would cook to dinner. And then we make breakfast based off whatever leftover we have in the morning, at night. And so it's just what we have. Yeah. And so when I moved to the U.S. and learning what I learned completely changed my culture. And I'm a coach now, and understanding, okay, I understand why a lot of Americans are overweight, because we have too much options. Not to mention Uber Eats. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to get out of the door to get food now. Right. And I don't even want to go deep dive. That's another conversation on that one. But yeah, so I think the biggest thing for my son is we don't restrict him of anything.
Right.
And it's funny because when we go to our friends and family's houses, They make fun of him because he doesn't know what cupcakes is. He doesn't know what, like, it's not that he doesn't know. He's just, we don't have it at the house all the time.
Right.
Does he have it? Yeah, but he just, it's not a regimen thing. So
Right.
I think the biggest thing for me is like teaching him, hey, it's okay to eat more. It's okay to eat certain things at a certain time, but he's definitely cannot have, no candies before bed. Obviously that's normal. But we have to teach him that, right? But it's okay. It's okay to have it during the day, but I will never say, hey, stop doing that. Cause you know how our parents always say, like, you gotta stop eating candy cause you're gonna start losing teeth. And I'm like, whoa. And then because it correlates with your emotions.
Right.
Cause how many times you see parents their kids are crying. I'm like, oh, hey, you want some ice cream?
Yeah.
You've been crying all day. So what does that do?
Emotionally.
Exactly. So when they're 12, 14, 15, 21 years old, when they're having that same moment, they go to the same thing. Right. So I don't do that with my kiddo.
It's a reward.
It's a reward. Yeah. It's the food to me. It's a reward. It's okay to have them at certain times, but definitely not, oh, you're having a bad day. Hey, you want some lollipop?
Yeah.
To feel better? Yeah. No, that's probably the worst thing. In my honest opinion. I know a lot of parents think differently, but I don't know if that's how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, with my daughter, like it's the same thing. She can have whatever she wants, but within certain means, because she's also gluten intolerant. And so her diet's had to change significantly as well. And it's hard for her sometimes when she's at school because some kids will bring cupcakes and they're not gluten-free. Yeah. So she only gets a granola bar that I've provided, and it's sad and it's emotional and we walk through those things. But overall, and there's going to be different things that different kids need as far as their diet goes. And for Lyra, we've had kind of a history of, I was raising her vegan, and then her dad and I separated, and then obviously he was kind of oblivious on what she needed. And then I was giving her all the things that she needed. It was just this kind of discombobulation of communication. Now we're in a better place with her. But since then, it's kind of been a good thing for her because she understands her body very, very well. Like I said, whenever she's eating, because there's access, she can literally have access to anything. She's like, Mom, I want to get some M&Ms. I'm like, dope, get some M&Ms. That's fine. Because she knows when to stop. It's not and I feel like there's extremes, right? Some parents completely eliminate candy from a child's diet and chips and all that kind of stuff. My daughter doesn't even soda. She's tried soda, but she hates it. She hates Oreos.
Weirdo. Wow. We can't be friends. We cannot be friends right now. Nope. Double stuff,
that's
baby.
That's my favorite cookie, bro.
Double stuff.
Been my favorite for the longest time. And let me tell you something. This is crazy. This is literally crazy. The Oreos at the Macy's in Pleasant Grove, I have scientifically tested this. They are the best. I don't know why or how. I literally,
hell?
bro. I drove
why? How?
Okay, so I went to the Macy's and I was like, damn, I forgot how good Oreos are. And then I got some from Walmart one time, and I was like, what is this? Yeah. And so I went back to Macy's. I was like, these are hitting. And so then I drove, I'm not even kidding, I drove all around the valley in one night, and I bought a bunch
Macy's
from
has
different stores. Macy's in Pleasant Grove.
That's dedication right there.
That is dedication, Dave.
That's dedication.
Are you okay?
If you have, Colton, if you have the same amount of dedication with your fitness goals, I think.
Oh, dang.
Let me tell you something. I would be huge.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. That's the truth. He knows it.
I'm gonna shoot myself. I'd be huge.
He knows it. This guy.
But there's extremes, and I feel like I've seen so many things as far as being a parent goes, and obviously with my own relationship with food, that I feel like if I limit so much for her, that when she's an adult, she's gonna be like me and be like, I'm an adult now, I can buy tons of candy and I can do tons of things, where in America, like you said, there's so many options that she's not limited. And so for her, I want her to have that healthy relationship where it's it's not always a reward. I'm not going to say that because I'm going to be completely transparent. She can have M&Ms sometimes if that's what she wants, because I want her to understand, okay, well, I'm eating this. What does that feel like for me? Because I feel like sometimes if it's a reward, then that's kind of where I have it's a gray area, because then I feel like it's blurring the lines between good and bad food. Well, I did this marathon. Now I can go eat a Snickers, you know, like, because that's how my brain works. My brain is, well, it's a reward. I'm stressed out and I've been working all day and now I want to eat this candy because it's a reward for me. I want it to be a common thing in her diet that if she wants something, she knows that she can eat it. But my kid is very like, she will choose a coconut date over M&Ms, you know, like.
And I'm surprised that she knows what that is, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, like she's very aware, and that's what I'm saying. Like how I raised her, it's like I should have been taking on all of that stuff by myself. But then working with Desi, it was like that's what I was telling her. I know she didn't give me permission to eat food, but in a sense, she did, because it was like, oh, like. I'm not comfortable taking care of myself. Well, why? You know?
Yeah.
So
and I think sometimes we're so out of our body too. From like, you were very out of your body.
Completely removed. I was John Cena.
That's when we have to have other people be able to give us permission or tell us what to do.
Yes.
And so now she's pretty much the one that's like guiding her own meal plans, you know, and I'm just figuring out I'm just putting it together for her, you know.
I think we see that a lot too with some of, I don't know, you know, with your clients, but with Yo's clients, definitely, where they tell Yo, they're like, you changed my life. And Yo's like, I didn't like scoop up the food and put it in your mouth. I didn't, you know, hold the dumbbells for you.
Right.
Like all I said was, yeah, you can go do this.
Yeah.
And then somebody was like, I can. And then they went and did it. And then all he said at the end was, yeah, good job. Yeah. And people are like, you changed my life. And so I think it really goes to show how little you can impact someone's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can. Good job. Is just as helpful as destroying as you can't. And like, why are you doing that?
And unfortunately, the negative sticks a lot more than the positive.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
for sure.
Like the amount of people that we have that we coach, the same conversation. I only eat 2 meals a day. Yeah. I'm like, oh. And then like, my mom said that, you know, I can't have carbs. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? You know, oh, well, carbs make you fat. I'm like, okay. And then they're like, well, fats also make you fat. I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to eat? Just protein all day, every day? Like, how does that work? Right? So, you know, we have to understand that we deal with adults that have those kinds of mentality, and we have to break that cycle. It makes our job very, very, very difficult.
Right. And
so when we have parents and then we coach them through it, like yourself, have a better relationship, and they coach their kids to have a better relationship with their foods as well. And that makes it so much better, because then by the time they're 20, 28, 25, 30, whatever, they have such a better relationship with food at that point, and pass on, you know, generations to generations. Because till this day, I have a lot of friends that eat, that always eat any packaged foods. Like when I first moved to the U.S., like I don't know what a corn dog was. I don't know what a Pop-Tart was. I don't know what a lot of frozen food or anything in a box. Like to me, like one of those potatoes, mashed potatoes that you buy in the box.
Oh yeah.
What are those? I don't
the
even
instant
know.
potatoes.
Yeah, I'm like,
what is he talking about?
Like, what is
you literally
that?
add water to it and cook it, and then it's mashed
I haven't
potatoes.
had those since the military.
It's great, yeah. And then I actually have one client in the military right now, and I was like, okay, bro, like, he goes, I'm gonna deploy it. I'm gonna go whatever. I'm like, okay, well, how are you gonna do with your food? Because we're cutting. Well, that's the thing. They only feed us MREs, and I'm like, what? It's all packaged foods, and it's disgusting. And I'm like, the military give you that? And he goes, yeah, everything is packaged. And I'm like, everything's processed. That's not good, bro. He goes, yeah. And he had the same issue. He had some gut health issues. So every time he comes back, he gains 5 to 10 pounds, a shit ton of water weight. He's inflamed. His gut health is ruined. And now we have to start our cycle all over again. And then we do this every time.
And that's unfortunate, because like, what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, you can't.
Well, and that's the shitty thing too, is
situation.
Is when your gut is inflamed or your gut is messed up, like that's, your gut is your second brain. And so of course you're going to have like mental health issues, you know, it's just a freaking circle.
Hey.
Sprite. Sprite.
I drink half a Sprite.
Half a Sprite. This is it. Korri, I'm like, half a Sprite? Is that the one? Yeah. Okay, cool. I don't even know your name anymore. It's a half a Sprite.
Well,
some people are so dramatic. I mean, let me tell you.
Yeah, I know.
I did they'll like I will act like they've committed murder.
Yeah.
I had a half a Sprite.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on the workouts. My God.
Oh, yes. Let's do this.
Do.
Let's
My
do
goodness.
this.
Okay, so I've been working out since like Nam, you know, like I've been working out for a hot minute, and I've used resistant bands, but damn, you know, like the warm up, I'm like, fuck.
I know.
My
I know
arms
what you're talking
and
about.
my legs are spent. I'm like, okay, and then I have to like brace myself for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, okay. I already got my resistance band part done. And then I just move on to the rest. But holy shit. Like, I break my own back.
What was your goal with your physical there?
Well,
like,
so
with your workout?
My goal, obviously, I want a big old booty. You know, you can't have
We
a big
got
old
that
booty.
booty on log.
Yeah.
You got to eat.
You got to
If
eat.
you want that big old booty.
Listen, ladies, you got to eat.
You gotta eat.
If you want a big booty, you got to eat. You can't just go train every day.
Yeah. But I think for me, it's more of like, I guess the tone look, but it's, I want to get stronger. I freaking hip thrusted 230 the other day, which I was like,
No, she's getting strong. I'm
all I
like,
care
I think
about.
that's more than I can do.
I was like, ah!
Those are good.
Did it 6 times. So at each point that we're, you know, she's got the workouts and things, I've been progressing, and it's so funny because every time I'm like, she's like, okay, we're gonna start a new routine now, and I'm like, fuck. Like, I don't want to start a new routine, but no, it's been really, really good, and it's been really good. I didn't realize for my body to have that change, that switch up, because I do realize for me, if I'm doing a consistent program because I was doing a program when we started. I've been on that program for,
What'd you say, like 6 months to a year?
yeah,
The workout program?
another workout program, and I saw no difference. And I've been working with Desi for 3 months, and I saw a significant difference. And just like I said, like, it's not just about the workouts, but the workouts are hard because I push myself, but it's about the emotionality and everything that ties into, you know, your diet. Diet is emotional. Working out is emotional. And then it's the discipline that comes with the rest of that. Because, like I said, sometimes there will be times where I do have a gluten attack and I can't move my body because my body needs to rest. And whereas before, in my different mindset, if I had something going on with my stomach and you know, I was inflamed, I would just push through it and go to the gym and wreak more havoc on my body and stress myself out now. Now what I'm doing is, if there's something that's happening with my body, if it's intestinal, you know, like, and it's affecting just like my day to day, I will take it easy, you know, and I will eat lightly, but then I will also like get right back to it. It's just one of those things. When you live with celiac, it's just one of those things.
How important is rest, Johan?
It's very important. I think that's one I want to touch base to. Before we talk about rest, let's talk about the stress factor of it. Dieting is stressful.
Yeah.
Going to the gym is stressful.
Yeah.
And then you add that into your day-to-day life is stressful, right? So, and I actually had to I did this with 2 of my clients, both husband and wife, literally stress to the max.
Yeah.
And I could not get them to lose weight. And I'm like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to reduce your workouts. I want you to work out. The female, I was like, hey, mom, I said, you need to not work out. Walk outside for 45 minutes. She freaked out. She goes, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. She lost weight.
Yeah.
The husband, same thing. I'm like, okay, no more 5 days a week. And I want you to reduce it to 3 days a week and walk outside. Don't even touch the treadmill. I want you to go outside and walk.
Yeah.
Lost 3 pounds in a week.
Wow.
With more food.
Right.
And I increased food. So the fact that people think that, why am I stressed? Well, you have to understand dieting is stressful, especially when you're on a deficit. And then you go to the gym, it's stressful to your physical, right? You may feel endorphins, you may feel all that stuff. You feel great, but you are stressing your body. And when you have normal stress on top of that, personally, financially, whatever you got going on. Not sleeping.
Yeah.
And then it adds, he doesn't sleep. And I know when when Colton sent his check-in every single week, I know. I'm like, what did you do? How was your sleep? He tells me every time. I'm like, yeah, bro, like I'm stressed, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. And so stress, you have to understand, like, if you high stress, your cortisol is everywhere. You cannot lose weight. You cannot lose fat.
Right.
So you know how to control that.
Yeah.
And you can back off.
Yeah.
And that's hard for us to do. We have to be, here's the thing. We have to be motivated to not go to the gym.
I'm not saying it's not hard. Because like when I'm like,
yeah.
man, like when I was telling Desi last week, I got sick. And I'm like, I only worked out 3 times. She's like, damn. You know, but I was like in a space that I could work out. I got worked out, and then I got sick. And then on Saturday I was like, I could go lift, you know, and then on Sunday I did the same thing. But it's not about overdoing it. And that's what I was saying with her is like, when she was like, you've been doing this program, and I'm like, yeah, I've been doing progressive overload. She's like, we're going to stop that for now. I just want you to go and work out and like, you know, lift however much you lift, but I don't want the focus to be on going heavier because I feel like that's stressing your body out.
Right.
And now, like, I can lift heavy if I want to, but it's more about where am I at today, and then how much am I able to exert? Because like I said, there are times when I have a celiac flare-up and I can't do anything. You're not supposed to be doing anything if you have a celiac flare-up because your intestines are inflamed and you have to give your body that rest time. But for the most part, like I'm on it. We walk. Me and my daughter, we walk all the time because being out in nature and in the sun is also important.
Well, and I think just old energy gets stuck in the body too, and it makes you not want to move.
Yeah.
And so once you can just like move, like get up and go walk, like I've noticed that with myself, like there'll be some days where I'm like, there's no way like I can get a workout in. Like I am so tired. I just feel like sluggish and gross. And now like I know like I need to go walk. And once I get walking done and out of the way and I get back home, I'm like, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
You just got to move. Okay. You just have to move, you know what I mean? And I think people always think of, oh, I want to lose weight. I'm like, it's not that you have to lose weight, you have to lose fat. There's a difference. And then what do Bob do? Or people tell Bob to do something. Oh, you just got to eat less. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then again, I mean, we have to coach through that. We have to tell people, hey, let's increase your metabolic rate. Yeah. Wait, I mean, I have to eat more. But coach, I want to lose weight. And I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And I think for the first little bit too, instead of like the focus being on to lose weight, it's like to lose those beliefs, those cycles, those patterns that no longer serve you, that are not going to get you to that new version of yourself that you're longing for. Because it's not necessarily like you think it's your mental first and then your body follows along. You know, it's not your body and then it's your mental.
And we tell our client, we coach you from inside out.
Yeah.
Not outside in.
And that's exactly how I felt, you know, like with like what she was saying. We started up at a higher calorie and it was uncomfortable, but then I was like, why am I uncomfortable with feeding myself? And I was also going to say too, like, it's really hard, I'm pretty sure for you guys as coaches, to compete with social media.
Oh my gosh.
And people are like, do this specific thing to target your arms or your abs. And I also want to mention about weight loss, where people can make a significant change in their body composition and not lose a pound.
Correct.
Yes. It's not always about the numbers on the scale.
I hate the scale.
I don't.
I was going to chime in and say that I think 15 to 20 pounds heavier than I was when I started with Yo. And technically that's bad according to the scale, right?
Right.
But I look the best I've ever looked and I feel the best I've ever felt. And,
yeah, you don't look like no scrawny little white kid no more.
You remember that?
I remember.
You remember that?
And I think it's interesting because, like, probably in the military, because they do it. They do the waist test, your BMI. Like,
BMI.
It is so difficult to be like an athlete in the military, because if your waist is on a certain circumference, you're overweight, or you don't pass this, you don't get points on a PT test, which is ridiculous.
My doctor told me I was overweight.
Yeah.
Didn't your doctor tell you that too?
Same with me.
Yeah.
Because of my height.
Yeah. But I mean, if you guys do blood work and you look at like your whole body physically, you're healthy, you know? And I feel like it's the same thing for women. Women, I was scared to eat. I was scared to gain weight. But now I'm like, okay, well, my body operates hormonally at a higher weight and better at a higher weight than it does if I were at a lower rate. I am more depressed, more sad, more tired, the thinner I am. But if I'm feeding my body and giving my body what it needs, and I'm working out in tandem with all of this other stuff that I'm doing and taking care of myself and trying to have a low stress life, which sometimes it's not perfect. My life is not perfect. Diet's not always perfect. Sometimes I have half a Sprite. You know? Yeah. But like, there are all these factors that come into play, and you're right, you guys do. You help us from the inside out. And then it's a cool revelation to see like, oh, like I can do this.
Well, and I think it's like what you said before, where it's like you felt like I had to give you permission to be able to eat. And I think that's like, with all that being said, with what you just said, we put so much worth on like the scale, measurements, BMI, all those things, but we get to choose how our relationship is with that. And we get to choose, like, even though those might not seem great on paper, we're still worthy. Like, we get to empower ourselves, and we get to make the choice of, like, even though that's what someone else's judgment or perspective is on that, like, I'm choosing to empower myself, and I'm going to embrace it how it is right now. Right. And I think we forget too that, like, along our fitness journey, we forget to celebrate the wins along the way and where we're at right now, and embracing that, instead of like getting to this point and we're like, oh shit, we're here, and now what?
Yeah.
You know?
Celebrating.
I was going to say, could you share a win? And what I'm thinking of specifically is, like you mentioned, working from the inside out, and you haven't really touched on it a whole lot specifically, other than, like, I feel way better now. But do you remember a moment? I think we all have a moment. There was, like, for me, when I first started lifting with him, and I was starting to look good, I still needed validation. So I would, like, text people and be like, look at my progress and stuff. And I remember there was one day I could really tell that I still needed validation, that I was, like, good enough. And I remember I had the pictures. I had them up in a text message, just to, like, friends and things, you know. And I remember I was like, I don't need to send this anymore. Like, I feel good.
Yeah.
Did you have a moment like that? Can you think of anything specifically where it kind of just hit you?
I mean, dang, it's all the time now.
Yeah. In a good way.
When I lifted that 230, baby. No, seriously, like, when I lifted the 230, I was like, how fucking awesome is it that I'm eating more and I'm lifting more, and I've freaking maxed out at 230, and I did it 6 times for my hip thrust. Like, damn. You know, like, awesome. Before Desi, I think I did like maybe 175, and I was like depleted, but now I feel good. Every time I go to the gym, I'm like, I got this, you know, like it's a great moment. I think kind of going back to what I was saying before, was my mentality has definitely changed surrounding food. Leaving, like I said, or just going throughout my day and feeling like, if I just, intermittent fast and don't eat till 12 o'clock, I'm going to be good, and I can just eat kind of whatever I need to for the rest of the day. But now it's like, I get up, I'm hungry, and I want to feed my body, because I do the same thing for my daughter. I make her breakfast. Now we have breakfast together. That's probably my turning point, is me and my daughter having breakfast together.
I love that. I love that.
That's been my turning point.
Wow.
We actually get to like have that time together, instead of like me not eating and running around and try to like get everything together. We set that time together to be together.
That's beautiful.
That's been my turning point. Obviously, like, the body changes have been, for me, like, really significant, and like just my body composition, but my mentality, I feel like, is more important than just like what's happening outside of my exterior. The exterior is great. It's like an added bonus, but it's just like, oh shit, like, I can accomplish something, and it feels good. I'm
sure you'll recognize too, like, going to therapy, you realize that it's generations. It's dropped down. Like, no, my therapist told me nobody is raised in a healthy, loving family and then treats their children poorly.
Right.
It comes down, which is unfortunate, but you're creating good habits where you having breakfast with your daughter impresses upon her family time is important. So when she has children, breakfast, you know what I mean? So it's like breaking the generational.
I have a question. We talked about, what would you say to yourself, if you were her age, for example, right? Your daughter's age, what would you say to yourself now? Like, if you can look back, right? If you can go back in the future to your past self that you're having those issues and emotionally eating, what would you say to yourself now and versus then?
So I feel like now I would say it's okay to reach out for help. It's okay to tell people, be vulnerable, because when you're your most vulnerable and you're most honest, that's when the most change is going to happen. Yeah. Whereas before, I feel like I would have just continued to self-isolate and just try to do everything by myself. And I will say it again, people need people. We need that connection. There are people out there who have information that, or the, like what he was saying, where you can do this, you have permission to do this, that you just need that extra push, and it's okay. Nobody's going to think less of you or think that you're not worthwhile getting to know, or you're not a bad person if you ask for help. And so now I would tell myself, like you did it, like you extended a hand out,
you did,
and somebody reached back, and you're doing it.
And what's your advice for single moms, especially out there, that maybe have the same situations that you are?
My advice to single moms would just be, find someone that, I would recommend Desi, but find someone
of course.
that
Check out Desi. Coach
Desi. Plug.
Half a Sprite.
Half a Sprite. Find someone that you're comfortable with, and maybe, talk to them about what your goals are. If you've had a problem with food, knowing, where that stems from. And it's the same thing with your body. It is generational, and there's a lot of things that have happened to us as adults when we were kids that have affected us. And my advice would be, reach out for help. Nobody's going to make you feel judged about the way that, well, hopefully, the way that, you're living. They're going to try to work with you. These two, I know, are going to try to work with you and figure out the best plan of attack. They're not going to try to change you completely, and they're going to try to go with what your lifestyle is right now. Just like Yo was saying, like, if he sees that you're not making a difference and you're still stressed out, he's going to tail it back to meet your needs. But that would be my advice, is to reach out and talk to people, maybe get a sense of, what's going to work for you right now. And it's not just single moms, single dads as well. Like, they're equally stressed. I have a great relationship with, my daughter's father, but he's like in the gym all the time, so he has no problem. But but I'm saying, like, if you're a single parent in general, it's going to be difficult. But making the time, it all goes down to discipline. You have to make the time. You have to want to get to that point where you want to see that change in yourself. It's not going to happen by watching YouTube videos and Instagram reels. It's going to happen by seeking help, getting a plan, and getting on a
professional help.
Professional.
Yes.
Let's just say that right now.
And also, like, I'm a big proprietor of going to a therapist and talking to someone about your mental health. When you start this journey, there are going to be times when you're going to be questioning if this is really what you should be doing. And that's when your therapist comes on in and is like, tells you that one-liner of, think about what you would lose if you went back. And you're like, damn, like, you right. you know? So it's
worth it.
There's an array of things that can be done. If I'm doing it, you could do it.
You ever get mad at your therapist? Like, you leave
Yes.
I would leave my session. I'd be like, she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. And then I'd be like, why am I so mad? Maybe she does.
I get so pissed. And then I'm like, when she said the thing about my daughter, and then I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, why am I doing that to myself? Like, that's mean. I'm mean. But it's an ongoing journey. This journey is never going to end. And I think that's the biggest thing you have to realize, is that once you start this journey, it's a lifetime thing. You're not just going to magically be fit one day and be yoked out and then just be like,
I'm done. It doesn't work that way.
Deuces,
Hence the name on the wall.
Yes.
Just so you guys know.
Yeah.
Unfinished lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a forever thing. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have coaches that entire time, because they're your guide. But in order to get to a certain point that you want to get to, you need help. Everybody needs help. Like I said, like, we're probably going to be together for a real long time.
Forever. You ain't getting rid of me.
That's amazing, guys. Well, thank you so much for being part of our podcast.
Thank you for
Korri.
having me.
This is
Thank you.
This is an amazing episode.
Yeah.
This is really good. I think a lot of people are going to connect to this episode, especially having the same issues, or if they have the same issues that you are. Because I know there's a lot of single moms out there, right? So that can relate. So thank you for listening, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for Korri for being a part of this, and then our main host, Coach Dez. I'm just the co-host today. And then obviously we have Colton. Colton does everything behind the scenes. He does all the edits and whatnot. So Tune in to our next episode. Anything else?
Nope.
That's it.
Have a Sprite.
Have a
Peace out.
Later.